What's up, everybody? Arrg the Pirate here, and today I'm going to be playing a little Greystone in the offlane. Now, I typically go over my deck and, that kind of thing at the beginning of my videos, but I'm using that same old offlane deck that I always use, and the reason is I'm playing with one of the newest pirate crew members. He just jumped in Discord, and he's actually very new to Paragon, so, I said, hey, let's jump in a PvP match, and I'm going to play just that standard deck, and, play with a very simple hero. That way I can kind of give him pointers instead of concentrating more on a complicated hero, things like that. And I'm able to pay a little bit more attention to what he's doing and less attention to what I'm doing. So, very simple deck, very simple hero. And, of course, we gotta go with Greystone. Now, just like in the gadget video I did, that few months back, like I said, I would like to kind of point out the good and the bad versus just kind of talking about, how great I'm doing or, the reasons behind what I'm doing. I would kind of like to point out the bad things that the enemy team is doing. Now, this really starts out, for the offlaner, this really starts out at the very beginning of the game. You can see that the enemy team is just pushing this lane like crazy, and this is allowing me to get fed. Now, this is kind of a great point right here is, Grux comes in to get a gank. Now, Grux is only level 1. All he's got is his smash and grab, and you can see they were able to just do tons of damage to him. So this did kind of take me out of my farm, as well as not really allow me to get the levels I need. That's great that we did have Grux's rotation, but he really needs to hit level 2 so he can either have that double pain or have smash and grab and double pain, or his knock up. He can have just much more of a kit than just having that one ability and still being fairly weak, and hopefully come in with green. That would avoid a lot of that damage that he took and avoid having to go back to base. The enemy team wasn't even forced out of lane. That was just an unsuccessful gank. So that's kind of more on the jungler side. If you're going to go in for a gank, you definitely don't want to run down the lane and so they can see you. But, like he does right here, come in behind him. Come in where they're unexpecting and, hey, this is going to be a much better gank. Now, I'm going to let him deal with Revenant, and I'm going to chase down this Richter, because, we might not be able to get might not be able to get Revenant down, but I should be able to take out this Richter. And, sure enough, he made a mistake. He turned that corner. That allowed me to just catch up, because, I'm running diagonal when he's running, straight lines. That allowed me to catch up and get that kill. Now, I'm going to go ahead and back. You saw it was very low, everything like that. That allowed me to pick up my Possessed Sprykin. So right now, Possessed Sprykin, if you are new to the offlane, is such a strong card. I believe it's one of the better cards in Paragon currently. That mid-game, it's still a very solid mid-game card, even though it is only 3 points. It performs like a 6 or 7 point card, and I just absolutely love this card. But for the offlane, if you're just learning the offlane, Possessed Sprykin is one of the better cards that you can pick up. It's got very, very good sustain, and it gives you a decent power spike fairly early on. And, that sustain, compared to something like Green Spring, that gives basic armor and health regen, that only gives health regen when you're out of combat. And, if you're playing the way I am, where I'm staying in combat, I get that solid health regen, and it's very nice. Now, I am able to pick up that gold buff. You can see Richter try to get it, but, just snuck in there, was able to last hit it. And I'm just going to continue working towards those higher cards. And, again, right now, I've got more cards on. I'm much stronger than the enemy team is. And this is going to allow me to play very, very aggressive. But you can see I'm not just in the middle of the wave, hitting it as much as possible. I want this wave to push. I don't want it to stay at their tower. I'm not quite strong enough to just let it stay at their tower. So I'm just dipping in, trying to get those last hits. And then whenever it finally does come into the tower, I'm going to go ahead and clean it up. because my wave is not going to push very far. Now, with the kind of passive Cull of the Week, or the execution that the minions have now, you can really focus more on getting that farm when you're under tower instead of just trying to clear minions out. And you actually see here, I just dive straight after this Revenant because I saw Grux was coming. I knew we were going to have that rotation, and I knew we were going to be able to take him out no problem. That's exactly why I just, hey, pushed down there. And you can see the little bit of damage that I did take, I'm healing it right back up. And before we even clear this wave, I'm going to be, you know, fully healed. Now, as the offlaner, you definitely want to make sure you're getting those last hits, but you want to keep the enemy from getting last hits there. Like you can see, that Richter, he poses absolutely no threat to me right now. And you can see, as soon as he came up there, I just focused on him. And I'm going to do it again. You know, he's going after my minions, I'm going to go after him. I'd rather get damage on him than get damage on the minions, because I want my minions to push back. I don't want my minions to stay under that tower and stay all the way up there, because it makes it a little bit more dangerous for me. And you can see now that it is pushed all the way up, instead of staying there, I'm going to rotate, pick up a couple of objectives, maybe help out this mid lane, things like that. If I would just stay at that tower, you know, it's a potentially dangerous situation for me. Now, if you ever are in the off lane, you can rotate just exactly like I've done here. You know, rotate to the mid lane. Typically, the mid lane is a caster. You know, you more than likely always have a caster in mid lane. And casters do very, very little damage with their basics to the tower. You know, abilities no longer hit towers, so really all they have is very light basic damage. And unless they get some minions under that tower and they have like a full minute to just sit there and tee off on it, they're not going to down a tower by themselves. They need help. Me being able to rotate over and provide that help is exactly what my team needs. And you can see I'm able to head back to my lane. They're actually slow farming this lane because, you know, I am getting more fed than they are. And it's, you know, kind of troubling for them. Now, their Revenant is backing, and I have a feeling he's getting a little frustrated because, you know, I am pretty tough to deal with. And he's going to go ahead and back. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure why he did that. I believe he rotates to a different lane for a while. But you can see the amount of pressure we're able to put up is just tremendous. Now, this Richter did go out. He left the safety of the tower to deal with those minions. And this allowed me to go in on Richter. You should always stay under tower when that minion wave is pushed in, because if the enemy does hit you, especially someone like Greystone that has this AoE ability, as soon as that hits you, you know, the tower's going to focus that hero. It's not going to do a whole lot, but it will help you, you know, kind of defend your lane a little bit better. From here, I'm going to go ahead and throw on Growth Totem and that Green Spring, which, you know, now I've got just crazy amounts of sustain. I've got some basic armor, I've got a little bit of power, and I'm slowly going to get more and more health and power. And this is really going to allow me to do tons and tons of damage. And you can see, I'm not scared of this Richter at all. I just went right in. We're able to take him out. You know, we did have the assist of Grux right there, but as Greystone, you know, I do get that second life. And that's kind of one thing I would also like to address with people. Greystone doesn't really get a second life in the sense of, hey, if they kill you, you're going to get out. That's not really the case. It kind of was, it used to be a little bit more of the case, but that's really not how it is anymore. Now, when Greystone uses his ultimate, if you're, you know, if there's 3 enemies around you when you use your ultimate, you're going to die. If you get caught out and one person hits you, you might survive that. But if you get collapsed on, you're not going to survive that. So instead of staying in till your ultimate's going down, if you notice you're getting rotated on or collapsed on, just go ahead and get out. That's a much better option to just leave that and not worry about dying, because you don't want your ultimate to go off. You need to think of your ultimate as you dying, and that will help you. You know, if every once in a while you can go in and use your ultimate to get some, that little bit of slow or get some damage. All in all, your ultimate is not really a fighting tool. It's a survival tool, but you're not going to be able to survive 3 people. Like right now, I could stay in that fight and potentially kill a couple of people. I shouldn't have been there in the first place. But, I could potentially do something there, but instead I'm going to choose to get out because, hey, that's kind of a dangerous situation. And that's really where that ultimate comes to play. If I would wait till my ultimate went off, I might not have survived there. And that's really not the option that you want. Now, I was ulted by FaZe right here, and I really want to, try to kill something. And sure enough, Twin Blast shows up. Now, Morgesh is fairly low, and, Twin Blast is able to get a successful gank on her. But we are able to take out Twin Blast. Now, one thing that I see a lot of new Greystones do is they use his jump to jump to the enemy, which his jump actually takes a little bit of time. It's not instant. So you either want to jump ahead of the enemy or jump, where they're going to be, not where they are. And it's really nice if you have the, Whirly Swords ability, whatever that one's called, before you actually use that Assault the Gates, I believe. I got one of them right, guys. But you really want to use that to catch up, or, if you're running behind somebody and the furthest you can jump is to where you land directly on top of them, you actually won't go far enough they'll actually be able to outrun you. So that's one thing to note with Greystone. You definitely want to use his ability, use that Assault the Gates to get ahead of your enemy, and that will in turn actually put you right beside them. Now, the next thing I kind of want to talk about is map awareness, guys. It's actually huge for every position, but for the offlane, it's another big one. Now, if you see here, I actually see that Sevarog is in our jungle, and I'm going to head over and actually help deal with him. And you could see our Grux didn't notice that. He wasn't watching that mini-map the way I was. He does end up showing up, but he is a little late to the party. It still ended up being very well, but having that just split second of map awareness made me able to engage on that fight. And if I wasn't over there to help deal with that Sevarog, that fight might have turned very, very differently. So that's absolutely huge to just, have a little bit of map awareness. Now, another thing you can do is when you're sieging a tower the way we are, you can just go in there and, take some damage. And with Greystone, you've got that ultimate. The ultimate takes that threat off of you, so, the tower's not going to hit you. But, don't lose your life for it. Don't lose your ultimate for nothing. We actually are able to tank this tower, and you can see I'm taking damage. I end up using my ultimate, but I sacrificed my ultimate for a tier 2. That is always worth it, guys. And if I would have, waited that split second before, whenever I jumped out, I would have lost my ultimate, and I probably wouldn't have stayed in on that tower. But since I was able to sacrifice my ultimate for that tower, it's well worth it. Now, I am going to head over to the offlane. The offlane's pretty far pushed up, but as Greystone, I am a lane-pushing hero, so I can push this lane. But I see, hey, Gideon's here. They're probably going to have some rotation. I was thinking about going in, then I saw, Revenant heading over. It's really not worth it. So I'm going to back out, and this Sevarog, we're able to get a good jungle invade on him, and you can see we're dominating him. We have a huge team collapse, and we're able to take him out fairly easy. Now, from here, I'm going to head to our safe lane. Morgesh is pushed up a little bit far. Hopefully, we can make it over there in time to actually, save her or help kind of change that push on the enemy team. Unfortunately, I did stop to take out those enemy minions to really keep that pressure up on that lane. And, Morgesh, she ends up taking a lot of damage, and she ends up going down. Or ends up, having to get out. I didn't make it in time. But this Twin Blast is a little bit out of position, so we're going to go ahead and just go in on him. Now, Twin Blast is pretty, he's pretty hard to actually take out if you're Greystone. You know, he's got a lot of mobility, and he can stay at a good range and just do tons and tons of damage to you. So, as Greystone, you know, it's not always best to face off against a Twin Blast. Maybe a Sparrow or a Murdoch, or, you know, you could even do Durango. He does have a slow, but Twin Blast with that jump boost on that very short cooldown, he's going to be able to stay out of range of Greystone, and that's just going to make it very difficult for you to accomplish what you need to. Now, I do go in on that tower. I was really hoping to get a lot more damage on than we did, but, you know, we didn't end up taking it down. I was really looking at my ultimate to make sure that you could see the timer on my ultimate was very close. So I wanted to make sure I had my ultimate, which I didn't have it right at the end, but that's quite all right. I'm going to go ahead and back, and, you know, I do have Thunder Cleaver, but I'm going to go ahead and upgrade. I would definitely like to put on a more tanky card. That way I can really be just super aggressive. Now from here, I'm going to head down to the Fangtooth. We actually have only taken Fangtooth once this round, so, you know, it's about time we got it again. And, you know, me being fairly tanky with this new build, and I do have the orange buff, so we should be able to take Fangtooth down pretty quickly. And sure enough, we do, with that great team collapse. Now, Revenant is out of position a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and go as fast as I can to take him out. FaZe does actually ult me there, so hopefully, you know, I'm not exactly sure if you get out of her range or you lose that link if the ult is removed. It used to remove the ult, but it seemed like I still had it there, so not exactly sure if that's been changed or not. I don't play FaZe all that much anymore, but it is what it is. Now, we do head to this enemy jungle right here, and you can see they have a pretty big collapse. But guys, I'm just very tanky right now, and especially hooked to FaZe. You know, I can just push like crazy. No one's really able to deal with me, and, you know, hey, I'm still doing the same thing where I don't put my points in. So I could actually be a little bit stronger than I am. I'm just, you know, not doing it. We are able to push this minion wave into this tower and take this tower down. And, you know, there's no reason to stop right now. We've got a couple of enemies down, and we can just keep this going. Now, one thing about being a tanky hero like I am is at this point in the match, I am not scared of taking a few hits from the inhib, from the tower, or whatever. But you can see with that massive collapse that they had, I need to get out. Now, I am staying behind FaZe. You know, you can see I'm body blocking for her, but she turns around, and that's actually keeping us from being able to run fast. So, I'm trying to body block for her. You can see I'm staying right behind her because she's much weaker than I am. And to be quite honest, you know, I can deflect certain bullets, things like that. If you are running away from an engagement, guys, don't turn around and look at what the enemy's doing. Just turn and run. You can see in that case, her stopping was actually body blocking me from being able to run, but I wanted to stay behind her so she didn't take any damage. And just turn and run out of that engagement. If you really want to look at the engagement through your minimap, guys, because that will not only tell you if you're still being chased, but it'll tell you if the enemy is completely retreating, or if they're running through the jungle, or you might even see someone sneaking up on you. So if you want to look at the fight, look at the minimap, and that will kind of train you not only to have better map awareness, but it will train you to use the minimap more for, you know, picking engagements and kind of seeing what the enemy is doing. Now, another question I get asked, because I say it all the time, is I want to keep the pressure up. Now, keeping the pressure up doesn't mean you are in lane right at the enemy tower. That could just mean you have minion waves going into that tower, and that's exactly what I did there. I pushed that enemy, or I pushed our minions into their tower. That freed me up to go to Prime, and you can see our wave is still pushed up fairly far, and now we have Prime, so it will be a short rotation over to actually deal with that. Now, I did think my team was going to be on my heels for that fight, or I wouldn't have gone in the way I did. but I do have Prime, so I should be healing up fairly nicely. Rick gets a great pull, but with that Unbroken Spirit, you know, that's healing me. So when he does use his CC, they really need to actually capitalize on that, or, you know, I'm going to survive it. And with being hooked up to Phase, you know, I'm just regening health like crazy. Now, their Gideon, you know, we're able to take him out. Morgish had him marked, you know, easy peasy. And we're just going to continue kind of dominating this match. Arrgthepirate did manage to push this safe lane all the way, and we're able to take out this inhib as well. And that's really GG. Well, that's going to wrap it up, guys. I really wanted to make this video because, you know, I do have some newer subs that are looking to get into playing these certain positions, and I really hope kind of this breakdown shows you a few things that might help you improve. I will definitely come out with a, you know, improve your offlane guide, or a basic offlane guide. I just thought this would be a good match to do that over because, you know, yeah, this was with one of my subs, and I kind of want to show it off and give a shout out to him. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and if you did enjoy, show me some love. Leave me a comment, think about subscribing, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next video.